Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aging and Spirituality. I'm Kathy Lee Taylor,
And I'm Chris Jensen.
and we want to welcome you to a special episode of our podcast where we'll be talking about the life and legacy of a woman by the name of Maggie Kuhn, spelled Kuhn. She was a trailblazing activist, someone that dedicated her life to fighting for the rights of older adults. Learning about Maggie, I was reading a book by Ken Dykewalt recently called Radical Curiosity, and that's how I heard about her. And she intrigued me so much that I started researching her. And I thought, today I'm just going to do a whole story about who she was and the things that she accomplished in her life. And I hope you find it really inspiring. She inspired me to want to really help the boomer generation more. There's so many of us on the planet right now, and there's so much room there to really help people with a lot of different issues, and we're going to talk about some of them today. So I hope it inspires you. So just sit back and enjoy. We're not doing any exercises, we're not doing any work today. We're just going to be listening to this story about Maggie Kuhn and who she is and was, and what she did, what she accomplished in her lifetime. She was really quite a remarkable woman, very dedicated in her life to fighting for the rights of others, and that gives me a heart rush just thinking about it. That is definitely Chris and I. We definitely feel exactly the same way. We want to fight for the rights of others, particularly women's rights. She was a pioneer in the fight for elder rights, and she helped change society, really how people looked at adults in society. So we're going to take a look at her life. We'll look at her work. We'll talk about her philosophy and her motivations and some of her accomplishments. And we'll also hear from some of the people who knew her and who were inspired by her. So, begin.
I'm ready.
Maggie Kuhn was born in Buffalo, New York in 1905. Wow, puts that in perspective right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she passed in 95, so she was 90 years old. She was a bright and ambitious student and earned a scholarship to attend Ohio State University, where she studied social work. She began her career as a community organizer and worked with the YWCA, the Young Women's Christian Association, and the National Consumers League. She was also a vocal advocate for peace and civil rights. And in 1970, at the age of 65, where we mostly are now, Kuhn was forced to retire from her job as a Presbyterian minister. This was the experience that really triggered her into starting a movement, because she didn't want to retire, but she was forced to because she was 65 years old. So she started what today is known as the Gray Panthers.
Oh, I love it.
First time I'd heard the name, right? I know. No, we've talked about the Black Panthers before, but I'd never heard of what the Gray
Oh, I
Panthers.
love this.
And you're gonna learn so much about what they do and how they have affected our lives in ways that I'm sure many of you are not aware of. So now the Gray Panthers are a series of multi-generational local advocacy networks in the United States that really head-on confront ageism and a lot of other social justice issues. They believe in active engagement and that civic participation and responsibility of everyone is fundamental in achieving social and economic justice and peace. So today, the Gray Panthers work to create a humane society that puts people first over needs over. I'm sorry, let me start again. Creates a humane society that puts people's needs over profits.
Yes.
I'm saying that because I want to emphasize it so much. Yes, this is so important. Responsibility over power and democracy over institutions. I don't know about you listeners, but I feel like we really need that right now. Eliminate injustice, eliminate discrimination and ageism wherever they exist. They bring together the young and the old, something that really touches my heart. I would love to see happen more of. They bring together women and men of all backgrounds and orientations to work in unison with mutual trust and respect. So I'll say a little bit more about. I know, and I'm going to tell you all how to get in touch with them and find out more about them. But for now, I'm going to say that Maggie Kuhn helped the Gray Panthers lobby for changes in public policy, such as age discrimination in the Employment Act of 1967. She was a charismatic and inspiring speaker and leader. She was known for her sharp wit and willingness to speak out against injustice. She was also a firm believer in the power of activism to create change. Her philosophy was based on the belief that older adults have a valuable role in society and should not be discriminated against because of their age. I mean, who doesn't believe that? We face that every darn day in so many.
We face it all the time. Yeah.
All the time. We are so underestimated. And she believes that older adults have the right to live in dignity and access quality health care, affordable housing, and meaningful employment. There are billions of boomers on the planet right now that would love to hear that. Kuhn also believed everyone deserves to live in a world free of poverty, hunger, and war. Yes. She also thought elders were marginalized and ignored by society.
Yep.
So Ken Dykewald was the author of this book called Radical Curiosity. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but he also works in the aging field. Very interesting man, great writer. I really recommend reading his books. I'm only partway through Radical Curiosity, but it's so darn interesting. And it is where I learned about Maggie. Anyway, he interviewed Kuhn back in the 70s, and he asked her about her feelings about being an elder at that time. And her quote was, "This is indeed a new age. This is 1970, an age of liberation and self-determination. I'm glad to have reached elderhood at this time. I feel free to speak out and act in ways that I was not able to do when I was younger." She said there were 3 things that she particularly liked about getting older. First of all, you can speak your mind. But she warned that, of course, you have to do your homework first, because otherwise you will be quickly dismissed as a doddering old fool.
Yeah, isn't that true?
A doddering old fool. Second, Kuhn liked that she had outlived a great deal of her opposition.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Many of the people who were her detractors are no longer around. Yoo-hoo, I outlived them. Third, Kuhn liked that she could tap into the incredible energy of the young while making use of the knowledge and experience that comes after living a long whole life. An area where I really feel that we could be doing a much better job in. She said having the power of these 2 worlds is an enormously vitalizing and inspiring experience for both ends of the spectrum, for the young and the old.
Yeah.
So Kuhn was motivated by a deep love of life and a desire to make a difference in the world. She spoke about how everyone has the potential to contribute, regardless of their age. She encouraged people of all ages to fight for what they believe in.
That's so important. People give up. You know, they get to a certain age and they feel like they don't have the value or this platform.
Yep. Yeah. And it takes work. It takes effort, you know? Yeah. So if you're like sitting on your couch watching TV, listen up, and we're going to show you where to go at the end of this so you can get involved, because this is some really amazing work. And as you know, we have more boomers on the planet than we've ever had. And that is an enormous resource just sitting there waiting to be tapped into. So, okay, so Kuhn and the Grey Panthers accomplished a great deal during her lifetime. The organization helped to pass landmark legislation. I bet you didn't know this, including, as we were saying above, the Age Discrimination and Employment Act of 67 and the Older Americans Act of 67, which they prohibit discrimination against workers over 40 years old. I bet you didn't know who did that, or, you know, why that's in place.
Yeah.
The law applies to all employers with 20 or more employees, and it covers hiring, firing, promotion, and other employment decisions. The ADEA, which is this law, was signed into law by Lyndon B. Johnson. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy to say those words. Lyndon B. Johnson in 1967, and protects older workers from harmful effects of age bias. That was Maggie Kuhn. We get to thank her for that, and the Grey Panthers. So they played pivotal roles, and I'm going to just talk a little bit more, elaborate a little bit more on what the Grey Panthers actually accomplish. A lot of things for us. In terms of ageism, this group is committed to confronting the insidious nature of the ageism, and they explore opportunities to expand visibility and reach by partnering with other effective advocates in the field. They also played a pivotal role in establishing Medicare and Medicaid. Bet you didn't know. Bet you didn't know. Yep. They established,
saved so many lives.
Yes, and they I mean, we're both on it. We swear by it and love it, you know, like there's so many people here in the States that really benefit by those programs. Thank you, Maggie Kuhn and the Grey Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah, providing healthcare to millions of older Americans. They work with long-term care. They ensure that nursing homes and assisted living residents have regular and open contact with ombudsmen to resolve issues and provide a voice to those who feel overwhelmed. So when you're in that situation where you have to put a loved one in a nursing home and you think they're being mistreated, this Grey Panther stepped in and said, no, this is not going to happen. We're going to have a way to take care of these kinds of situations. Right. And that was another thing that they did. Again, I mean, the list goes on. Here's another one: confronting systemic discrimination. This systemic issues are something that's really near and dear to my heart. I'm part of a group that is always working towards not having systemic racism, breaking it down, exposing it, bringing those odd beliefs out so we can be better humans to each other, better global partners, better global friends, Anyway, confronting systemic discrimination was the words that they used way back then. Grey Panthers stand up to the racist attacks, the police and state-sanctioned brutality, white supremacy, homophobic violence, boundless misogyny, thank you, God. The demonization and detention of immigrants, and inhumane policies that separate families. Oof. The funneling of money to the wealthy, the promotion of climate science ignorance, the refusal to act on common sense gun safety laws and policies that discriminate against people with disabilities. Wow. Holy moly.
Wow.
Not one alone. Amazing. I'm not done. And I'm not done. I'm not done. They also are global advocates. They have consultant status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council, and they participate in deliberations at the UN on various global issues. These are really dedicated, loving people.
Sign me up.
I know. I know. I'm going to show you how. Okay. I'm there too. At the international level, Grey Panthers participate in deliberations at the UN, such as implementation of the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging, the rights of older persons, implementations of the 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development, the status of women, human rights, social development, demographic issues, health disabilities, disaster reduction, urbanization, migration, humanitarian crisis. Okay, I could go on and on, but you get the idea. I don't think there is a boomer on the planet that can't find something in that organization
relate to this,
that they could help with, that they could volunteer and they could be part of. What an amazing organization. Thank you to everybody who is doing that. So, wow. I'm overwhelmed by how much they actually accomplished. So Maggie's story is particularly relevant to boomer listeners everywhere. So who are still facing challenges, the same challenges she did. I mean,
we are. I mean, I was out there as a young person protesting in the 70s. Yes. And I'm shocked that I'm still protesting the same stuff.
Same things. The same things are coming back. It's cyclical. Yeah. It's crazy. Yes. But her legacy, Kuhn's legacy, is really a reminder. It's never too late to make a difference in the world. I don't care what your numbers are on the age spectrum. You can make a difference. So thank you for listening to our podcast. My ranting about Maggie Kuhn and the Grey Panthers, because I got really excited about this organization and I just wanted people to know. If you'd like to learn more, I encourage you to go to the Grey Panthers website. I'm going to put the link to it in the show notes. And they have a newsletter you can get on, so you can just, see what they're up to. And you can also volunteer. So Maggie passed in 95, but she has a bunch of books on Amazon that you can absolutely look up and read. And I hope that you enjoyed these stories, and I hope you feel like I do, which is getting involved with this Grey Panthers organization. I am definitely going to do that.
I'm inspired for sure.
I know you would be. She didn't know either.
I didn't know. I had not ever heard of them. This is really inspiring. That's why it's so important to share this kind of information.
Yeah, and to always be resourcing, like I
Yeah,
got this data
right.
from reading a book,
Yeah.
and Ken is working in an area where I would really like to be involved in, and that is working with aging people and having, creating systems that are making their lives better instead of, they get tucked away and not taken care of here in the
Yeah.
United States. That's not right. And not to mention that all the resources and the wisdom that they have is not being used, and it needs to be. And it just takes people to step up and work at it. So if you enjoyed this episode, please visit our YouTube channel and click the like and subscribe. And you can always reach myself at kathyleetaylor.com, and then you can reach Chris at yogacenter.org. And of course, we always want to hear your questions and your
We sure
comments.
do. Yeah, let us know how you enjoyed this. Were you
Yeah.
inspired? Let us know.
Yeah, I love it. I got excited.